what we thought we would do for this part of the presentation is actually we've focused a lot on the energy side of things, but of course this is the Global Energy Leaders Summit, and we thought we would spend a little bit of time talking about the leadership side of things. So I thought I'd start off real quick. If you could, you both have very extensive leadership vitas, but maybe just sort of tell people the current and maybe your previous leadership positions. So Doug, you want to start?
Sure, yeah, so I'm presently President and CEO of Continental Resources in Oklahoma City. Continental, as you may not be aware, is the largest oil and gas, private independent oil and gas company in the world. I've been there for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was the CEO for approximately 8 years of Chesapeake Energy in Oklahoma City. So,
great.
All right, Dave? Great. So I'm Dave Lawler, and Paul, it's just great to be here. Thank you for having us. So my current job is I'm the CEO and president of Kimrich Texas Gas, and I'm also a director of Commonwealth LNG. And the reason why I put that in is that what we're trying to do is develop American natural gas along the Gulf Coast and then put that gas into an export facility in Louisiana and ship it to international markets. So it's kind of a combined strategy. So I always mention the two companies at the same time. And then before that, I was a chairman and president of BP here in the United States. And in that capacity, I was kind of at the forefront of all these, the technology and hydrogen and carbon capture and solar and all those different technologies that will kind of drive the energy transition. So kind of a very important time, I think, for mines and certainly for the leadership aspect. So looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, that's great. And, things that aren't in the program, obviously, are maybe just I don't know if one of you wants to just sort of briefly explain your backgrounds. I mean, people always wonder, how do you sort of get to be at the professional career level that you two have achieved? But when you were here at Mines, you were from very different background at the time. So
Yeah, sure. You want to try, Doug?
Fill in.
I'll fill in if you miss anything.
Yeah, so Dave and I grew up in Green Mountain in Lakewood here, just 5 or 6 miles away. Grew up in a very strong middle-class family, had great opportunities for an education in Jefferson County, public education. We both love football, both love sports, and both came to Colorado School of Mines and played football on football scholarship. While we were here, we had a great opportunity to meet some really great people, other really strong industry leaders, which really gave us, with Mines as the foundation, an opportunity to go into an oil and gas industry and business that really has shown us the world. And through independently and jointly, we've had the opportunity for the last 35, 40 years to really have literally responsibilities for operations all around the world as well as here in the United States, and had just a great opportunity to learn and grow off of that foundation that we had from what started here at Mines.
And you also started off with a couple other roommates, right, that have done okay too? You want to?
Yeah, sure. So one of our roommates, John Chrisman, CEO of Apache. Another roommate, Chris Kendall, he was CEO of Denbury. It was just purchased by Exxon for $5 billion. And it was kind of this unique time in our life where we met all these just really special, really gifted kids here at the school. And as Doug said, it just really transformed our lives and really beyond any expectation that we could have imagined. Our dad printed the Denver Post every night. He'd go to work at 8 p.m., he'd get off at 4 a.m. And he just always emphasized to Doug and I, you guys need to get a good job, you need to work hard because, I want you to have more opportunities than I had. And so that really kind of stuck with us. And maybe just a little bit of advice to the students. One thing that a lot of people kind of ask that question of, how do you navigate the industry to leadership? And he never once asked us for our grade card. And I think we saw him working so hard, it just kind of landed on us, we probably should do the same. Now, we had offered up and show it to him, but he never kind of got directly involved. And the expectation was we were going to go do what we were supposed to do while he was working all night. And we never left that.
Yeah. So there's, knowing you two, leadership is a topic that both of you are very passionate about. and obviously you've all been in the energy industry. And there is a rumor that you might one day actually teach a leadership class here at Mines.
We're going to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do that to get that on record.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we know we've been talking about it for a little while, but we might get the both of you and maybe your two roommates actually contribute both. The course would be great. But I think for the audience, what is it about? Why are you passionate about leadership?
Leadership to me is the opportunity to influence a better outcome. And our purpose as humans, our purpose as engineers, we're looking to find better ways to do things, improve things. The human condition is how do we continue to grow. And what our engineering degrees and what those students in the audience, what your engineering degrees do is they provide you that foundation to build upon. How do you improve, how do you grow, and how do you innovate and think about things differently. And we have both had tremendous opportunities come our way through time, and I can tell you that neither one of us ever set out thinking, well, I want to be in the top job or I want to be a CEO. My view is always I want to do as good of a job as possible to be considered for the next job. And that mindset, and really from our background, from our parents, as Dave mentioned, and our training here at Mines, is just do the very best you can in the job you're in. And it doesn't matter what else is going on. All that matters is what you do. And as you focus on doing your best, the strange phenomena is other opportunities will come your way.
Yeah, I might build on that just a little bit. So over the years, I have got that question of, how do you get from one level to the next? And the thing that I always share with young people, and I think many who have been in the business for a while can relate to this too, but a lot of people get confused that you promote yourself. And the truth is everybody around you promotes you. So when they see you, kind of everybody needs to be honest and ethical, and everybody, in my mind, is smart and working hard. But the different factor is when you're supporting everybody around you, supporting your organization, then they know you're in it for them. And it's an authentic in it for them. And when that happens, suddenly you find yourself in a position of like, well, we'll let you go to the next level and see how you do. And it isn't this being the smartest person in the room or having all the answers, and it's cooperating with people, it's lifting them up, it's kind of understanding what the future needs to look like and then making that real for people. And I think, Paul, you've done a great job of that here. I've seen the way you and your team have led, take the quantum computing that you guys have been at the forefront of. You're looking to the future. At the same time, you're elevating the faculty and your staff and the students to where they all want to be here and want to be a part of the school. Great.
So what is it about energy leadership that particularly excites both of you?
Energy specific to the energy business?
Yeah. Why is it that, it's one thing to sort of have leadership skills and aspire to leadership, and a lot of people could sort of lead different things, but I'm just wondering, is there something, again, I don't think you woke up as a young kid and said, I'm going to be in the energy industry.
Yeah, no.
But you are there, and you get up every morning, and I'm sure you must be excited about what you do, and what is it that, about being a leader in the energy industry that really gets you going?
I think, Paul, you could probably substitute just technology in there. Leadership is, like Doug said, it's the opportunity to influence the outcomes going forward. And I think for me, it's what kind of drives me is it's like, okay, how can we do this fundamentally better than we ever have in the past? And so kind of all the teams that I've worked with over the years, I always kind of like start with the assumption that we can dramatically improve what we're doing. And you get that mindset, and people start thinking that way. And then I think that's where you kind of add a little bit of the leadership element of, okay, look, it's not that I'm trying to get more out of you. I'm trying to get you to think about, like, how can I do my job better? How can this company go further? How can we do better on every single metric, whether it's safety or emissions or profitability? And if you have the whole company thinking that way, things usually, go in the path you're expecting, and it's a positive outcome.
I'd add that the thing I always loved about it is energy impacts everything, every single thing we do. And then on top of that, it's really fun. It's a great, the energy industry is dynamic. Dave and I have had the opportunities to be in charge of running deep water operations in the Gulf of Mexico. being responsible for drilling rigs, being responsible for international operations, seeing how countries like the U.S., if you haven't had the opportunity to see how Sub-Saharan Africa or South Africans, Mozambique, the region of South Africa, Mozambique, how those people live and what the absence of energy has meant to their development, their education, their water, their food supply. We have that opportunity to improve their standard of living. The prosperity of the world is built upon affordable, accessible energy. And as students here, and with when you think about energy and the transition and all those kind of things that take place, oil and gas is going to play a huge role in it. It's going to continue to play a huge role in it. All the other things are very important as well. Yesterday when I left work, there was a train probably 3 miles long with windmill blades on it as I left downtown Oklahoma City. As I flew up here this morning, I flew over the wind fields of western Oklahoma, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of windmills. I saw one turning. To say that oil and gas is not going to be needed or that it's all not complementary in the energy stack to what the world needs and for the prosperity of the world is absolute foolishness. And it's fun.
Yeah. So I would agree. I think anybody who sort of gets to the level, you have to really enjoy what you're doing. You have to really believe in the topic and the space. And I'm just kind of curious. Each of us has a window of time when we have an opportunity to play a leadership role, right? And at some point, we don't have that opportunity. So, as you look ahead, I don't know, even from now going forward, with energy it's obviously a very politicized topic. It's something that there's the sort of superficial information on it, that there's the next layers down, and we've heard some of that from Bruce and Tom and from our governor. What do you think the next generation of energy leaders, or even someone who would sort of climb into that role next year or 5 years from now or whatever, what are they going to have to, I don't know, what skills they're going to have, what knowledge they're going to have to be that influencer, not beyond the walls of their company, and what do you think about on that?
I've got a little bit of a long answer, but I'll try and compress it, because as much as things change, in a lot of ways they don't. And I know that's a cliche, but let me give you the example that I kind of learned a few years ago. So in Europe, they have this intelligence test called the Raven's Progressive Matrix. And I don't know if anybody's actually heard of it or not, but it's a word-free test. And the first question in one box would be a dot, and in the second box would be 2 dots. And in the third box, there's 3 dots. And then the question is, well, how many dots are in the fourth box? So you can kind of get an idea of kind of how the test works. And so it progressively gets harder to where you can no longer see the trends. And so, if you're a super smart person, you can get pretty far through the test. And if you're normal, you'll kind of stop about halfway through, and you can no longer see the trend. Now, where I'm going with this is it gets back to the teamwork thing, okay? So each of us individually can only see so far. But if you get a team of people around you that you can trust and you start thinking, collectively that group can see further than an individual. And it can be seen when a bunch of people take this test together. And so the reason why I like to share that with people is that, the technologies will change. So much of, fertilizer, we learned to do that in 1913. Ammonia, learned that in 1913. And it'll come back now to be, ammonia may be a principal fuel in the future, clean ammonia. And I just wanted to stress to everybody that, for all the grasping of knowledge, at the end of the day, collective minds working together on the big problems, it's not going to be individuals usually that solve it. It has to be a team. And so I would encourage the students that are here to think about that as developing these relationships, work with smart people, and you will be able to see further because of the people that you're around and who you associate with. And I think that's what makes Mines so special.
Right.
I just may add just what Dave said is so important. But what's smarter than the smartest guy or girl at Colorado School of Mines? A room full of people at Colorado School of Mines. The power that you have And I think to a large extent, Dave and I, we never had any idea what opportunity was out there. But that collective effort and working with others to drive towards achieving something substantial or something new or improved or better, it resonates. And your training here at Mines, you may not realize it, but what they're beating into you is that innovative spirit of how do you do better. And that's what's taking place, and whether you ever actually realize it or not, that's what's happening. And I think that we all, in order to improve, there's a few things that you have to be very, very mindful of. There's an inertia towards being comfortable, working towards a certain comfortable lifestyle. There's an inertia towards working to convention. And all of that leads to almost a complacency in the way you approach your job, perhaps in the way you approach other parts of your life. And avoiding those 3 C's, the convention, complacency, and comfort, is something that Mines has trained you to do, and don't ever lose that. And your ability to influence, impact teams, and do great things will come off the avoidance of that inertia.
Awesome. So I have sort of a different question for each of you. Dave, in your previous position, you spent a lot of time testifying in D.C.
Yep.
And you were,
This is true.
there was a point in time where you were sort of like the industry point person in a way, right?
Yes.
And maybe it was the punching bag, maybe it was, I don't know, right? But you had to go there, and you had to handle some tough questions and some tough issues in front of people. I was just wondering how that experience has maybe influenced your thoughts on leadership, and getting back to you sort of trying to influence people and things like that, and you've got folks who maybe don't necessarily want to be influenced, but they want to talk to you about a topic that they're very interested in. What did you get out of that experience?
Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting, so I had the opportunity to do that twice. I say the opportunity. And so, I learned a lot. I spent, a lot of time kind of obviously studying the company, studying the history of climate change and pricing of natural gas and products was kind of some of the other questions said. But I think what I kind of came to me, Paul, was that, when you're preparing for this and when you're giving your message, it's so easy in today's society to kind of go with, and it goes a little bit to what Doug said, of kind of complacency, or just kind of, well, this is the way that the winds are blowing. And I think that, a leader, you have to know who you are and what you believe. And that needs to stand up in a congressional testimony. It needs to stand up in your friend group. It needs to stand up really across kind of how you live your life. You can't, change your direction based on being tested. And so it really causes you to ask yourself, well, what is it that I really believe here? And what do I think is important, even if it's profoundly unpopular? And I think what we're seeing right now is that, there's so much difficulty. I think everybody knows that permit reform is a very big thing here in the United States. You can't even put in a major project hardly anywhere without it becoming a lawsuit. And what we really need right now is for people to stand firm on, hey, look, this is what is important. This is what we need to focus on as a country, and then kind of champion that going forward. And so I think that's kind of what I learned, was that it's, you can't get up there and change your opinion from something you said 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It's like you have to have the conviction of, hey, this product that we make is needed, it's important to society, and in fact, it's helped people. So just kind of, I'd say, the resolute belief in yourself and what you think is right, even when you may be the only person in the room, that needs to be able to stand up to scrutiny.
Great. So I'm going to switch gears for your question, Doug, which is, you might be able to sort of speak to the role of mentors in leadership development. And I know you've got someone that you're certainly learning a lot from things. So could you talk to that about maybe as our students or our alums who are still working on their careers think about sort of developing into leadership, whether that's in the energy space or other spaces? How important is that role of a mentor?
Yeah, it's a good question, and happy to comment on it. And I think I would represent what Dave believes here as well. But the role of mentorship is extremely important to any and all of us. And I've always had the belief that I can learn from anyone and want to learn from anyone. And with that type of spirit, Paul, I mean, when you approach someone with that mindset, what are you, your hand is open. My hand is open. I want to learn with you, from you. We can do something together. If I'm approaching you and my hand's over yours, or any other arm waving stuff, it's your hand is open. We can learn together. We can do something together. We had a tremendous mentor in our father, in his leadership and work ethic, and we both have had significant mentors across the industry. And I wouldn't highlight that there was any one person, but you always have to be mindful of individuals that have traits that you see are effective, beneficial, and influential. We both having a spirit of continuous education and continuing to pursue academically or cross-discipline, your learning and your breadth is very, very important for your leadership progression. We both pursued our MBAs at Rice, and Dave was at Tulane. And that opportunity gives you the chance to learn from other disciplines that you don't know anything about. And as leaders, you're going to be in positions where you're responsible for disciplines and individuals, departments, or groups that you're not an expert in. And so, as Dave was highlighting earlier, that trust and that confidence in the individual that you're working, that together you know that these people are anchored in the same things as you, that team, you can make better decisions and may not have direct expertise in that area. But through time, whether it be servant leadership, whether it be financial, whether it be operating, you just have to be ever mindful of those around you can learn from. And I think a lot of times the word mentorship, people get hung up on it. Well, I got to find a mentor. Everyone is your mentor. You got to find people you can confide in and learn from. And I'm 17 months older than Dave, but he's a tremendous mentor to me. Just from his experiences and what he's learned and been exposed to, and many things that I haven't. And so that power and that benefit of looking at anyone that I can learn from you and I want to learn from you will help you significantly on your leadership journey. That's
great. That's perfect. So I guess sort of a couple real quick questions, because we're wrapping up our time here. If you had a boat, what would you name it?
A boat?
Yeah.
We should answer a few of these. I think everybody would enjoy this. So Doug and I, probably like all of you, love the School of Mines and the concept of blaster. And so over the years, it took us a long time to get there, but we did buy an offshore fishing boat together, and the name of the boat is Blaster, and it's a picture, or it's a painting of this marlin with the dynamite in its mouth. And we'll have to send it to you guys. And then we also have this off-road racing truck. We're in the Baja 1000 occasionally, and it's called Blaster, and it's a donkey that has wheels where the legs used to be, and it also has the dynamite. And all the kids that are around the truck, that's their favorite sticker, is Blaster with the dynamite in their mouth. So anyway, we're going to continue on with other variations.
So you can be leaders and you can have fun and you can still stay tied to mines and you can still love
right.
Blaster and all those things. So it's a pretty good gig. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, would you please thank Dave and Doug for
Thanks, Paul.
chatting with us.